Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So a couple of months ago I released my top 5 VGT money methods, and this car, the Mazda LM55 VGT, was almost top of the list. However, looking back, I realised that I hadn't actually updated the entire money method on the channel. The one that is currently up on the channel featuring this car is around about 2 years old and is massively outdated. So I thought I'd go back for today's video and do a full guide and breakdown of the Mazda LM55 VGT. So the car itself is the LM55 VGT, not the Group 1, the standard VGT model. It's going to set you back 1,000,000 credits. So as for the stats, the PP rating is 926.94, it's 4-wheel drive and naturally aspirated. All of the other performance stats for this car are completely blanked out. This does happen with a lot of the VGTs. Now in terms of that high PP rating, we are going to have to nerf it, but this is one of the rare occasions where a VGT gets completely nerfed and doesn't feel like total trash. Overall, this feels like a perfect alternative to the Mazda 787B. Hence today's livery, so a big thanks to Shiro for this one, which is obviously a 787B styled livery, obviously made for the LM55 VGT, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic, a little bit like a futuristic spiritual successor. In terms of the tuning sheet for this car, very easy to do, so you're going to be running the racing hards on this car. In terms of the body height, it cannot be adjusted. Anti-roll bar is 5 at the front and 7 at the rear. Compression 27 at the front and 35 at the rear. Expansion 35 at the front and 45 at the rear. Then onto the natural frequency, it's going to be 4.00 front and 4.75 at the rear. Negative camber angle cannot be adjusted, but toe angle is 0.05 outwards and 0.15 inwards. Fully customizable diff, I recommend just 5 for all of these settings. This car is absolutely spot on with those. Normal transmission, just leave it at 320, it probably cannot be adjusted, I didn't even attempt that. Ballast is 169, minus 43 positioning. Power restrictor set to 99, then the fully customizable ECU set to 70. Don't worry about that too much. Downforce is 1000 and 2000 at the rear, and then literally nothing else needs changing. A very simple build to get working. In terms of the events, I fully recommend WTC 800 for this car. So just like the 787B, this car will run flawlessly at every single one of the WTC 800 events. Without fail, this car is one of the better tuned cars in the game in terms of tackling almost every event possible that it can go ahead and enter. In terms of the two events we're going to focus on though, it's going to be Sardinia Road Track and it's going to be Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for the Spa 24-hour layout. These are the two best paying ones in the game, and this car will work absolutely fine at both of them. In terms of difficulty, whilst you could go for easy, I do fully recommend just keeping the game on the hardest difficulty. This will reduce the traffic and reduce the amount of time lost when it comes to lapping the AI. So let's speak about the build itself. So for what felt like the longest time when GT7 first released, this really was one of the most popular money grinding cars for the longest time. In terms of the build, it has changed quite slightly. Again, there is a kind of less nerfing overall. So in terms of how it runs today, it is faster than that original build. However, it is coupled with incredible fuel efficiency, incredible handling and incredible tyre wear. Overall, it really is a cheaper alternative to the 787B, and it's available all the time. That is the fantastic thing about this car. You get that amazing rotary sound. It's very good on its tires, very good on fuel, and again, it's available all the time, unlike the legendary 787B. So this is a fantastic alternative. It's cheaper, it's always there to purchase, and to be honest, you can't really go wrong with it. It is slightly slower than the 787B itself when that is its, I guess, max potential build, but to be honest, the LM55 VGT really is a great reliable grinder. So I'm not going to talk too much about the strategy. It is really simple, to be totally fair. So in terms of the fuel efficiency, there's a way to balance it out. What you're really aiming to do is drag the car to around about 10 laps before you pit. You can go for a 0 stop with fuel mix 6, but to be totally honest, you will lose more time over the course of the race by nerfing the engine power that much that it is quicker to just run it flat out and then balance the fuel, go to lap 10, pit, and then absolutely flat out to the end. It is honestly quicker to do that than it is to sit in fuel mix 5 and 6 and just drag it all the way to the finish line. So in terms of the fuel itself, I recommend fuel mix 1 while you're trying to get through the pack. Again, we do have them on a higher difficulty. This is to reduce the traffic later on in the race and, you know, I guess get rid of that overall time loss that will typically happen on the easier difficulties. Now, once you get a gap, I recommend running fuel mix 3 and then turning the engine back up once you start having to, you know, chase down that leading car. Quite often, the leading car will be way out in front of the rest of the pack, so just be aware of that. I caught them at the end of lap 4 when they were going into pit. I really didn't get the best run. I got caught up in a lot of traffic a lot of the time. At this point, you're then going to balance out between fuel mix 1 and fuel mix 3. Again, just ensure that you're aiming for the laps remaining to target the end of lap 10 pit stop. The reason we're aiming for the end of lap 10 because on the highest difficulty, this is when you will typically start to hit a lot of the traffic. As you can see, once we got on lap 10, it was traffic time. At this point, I'm going to box in and get that gap spreader back out between myself and the rest of the field. Again, I'll probably catch them in the last couple of laps, but not so much that it's going to completely destroy my overall time. So at the end of lap 10, I'm going to box in. I'm not going to bother changing the tyres. The tyres are absolutely fine. You won't need to kind of mess around with those. However, I am going to put some extra fuel in, and at this point, I'm just going to turn the engine up to full whack, go max power all the way to the end, and it's going to be job done. Again, avoiding the majority of the traffic right until those final few laps. You'll probably hit a few stray cars every now and again. Sometimes the AI does run out of fuel or they'll have an off or something like that. So again, you may hit a few stray cars and you may start hitting, you know, a bit of a packed traffic. But again, it's going to be so late into the race that it's not going to overall affect too much of your time, and you probably won't see them again after. And as well, they will probably pit as well before you kind of, you know, get right up behind them. Overall, it's a super simple strategy. Just run it at fuel mix 1 and fuel mix 3, run it to the end of lap 10, box in, avoid as much traffic as possible, and there you go. A nice super simple money method. 24 minutes 35 seconds. In terms of the payout, obviously Sardinia is a little bit less than Spa, so 7,275 in around about 24 minutes, so not too bad at all. In terms of Spa itself, again, that is 1 hour limited. So there we go. After almost 2 years, the LM55 VGT is now fully updated to the latest physics changes from over a year ago, and is obviously fully running in the latest update. If you do have any of your own builds that you might want to see featured on the channel over time, then be sure to head over to my channel description and email me at that email. This is the best place to get in touch with me when it comes to your builds, or the Discord server that I will have in the description down below. This way I can check out your builds, and if they're any good, I will probably go ahead and feature them. Anyway, a massive thank you to all of my channel members who helped this channel throughout the uploads and in between uploads and such like that. Honestly, you guys are absolutely incredible, and a massive thank you to you guys that watched this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.